With Black Clover chapters 374, 75, and 76, we transition away from the heartbreaking and heartwarming battle of the Silva versus the mother Asir Silva when they were able to free her from being a paladin, and we now find ourselves with Nacht and Yami facing off against Morgen, and it's another family battle, one where you have brothers by blood fighting and you have brothers who are close enough that they might as well be blood brothers going at it in what is a life and death struggle. While Nacht looks like he's in shock at the sight of Morgen standing before him as a paladin, Yami's sister is the one who notices that Yami, he's in terrible shape, seemingly near death, bleeding out, and to make matters worse, Lucius has arrived on the scene with the intention of having a good old-fashioned Grey Deer reunion by teaming up to slaughter Nacht and Yami. This, as you would expect, is the worst possible scenario given how much stronger paladins make the people whose souls have been corrupted, but when you add in our rogue wizard king Lucius as well, it's a close to a sure thing as a loss as one could expect. But this is Black Clover, and as we've seen countless times before, when someone's back is against the wall, they have no problem pushing through their limits, and this is exactly what happens here on multiple levels, both physically as well as mentally. Nacht charges forward, ready for battle, and seemingly prepared to leave it all out on the table long enough for Yami's sister to tend to his wounds. It's basically his last ditch effort given how stacked the deck is right now, and Yami, as he looks up at his sister, he starts to ask himself if he's really too far gone. Is he about to die? Because you all know the cliche, when you're at death's door and you start picturing your loved ones, that usually means that the Grim Reaper, they are now calling. Yet Yami, when he feels the key of his sister, he starts coming around to his senses and he asks the important questions like, how'd you make it here to the Clover Kingdom? And Yami, he lets out a sigh of relief as he learns that Asta's alive and well, and that Lucius didn't really kill him, and this, my friends, is very important. One of the things that Lucius said a while back was that how much things have changed in this timeline now, and it's pretty strongly implied that Asta's existence has changed this world in ways that even someone like Lucius was never able to predict, and this is another byproduct of it. Yami, he isn't going to die, and it all goes back to Asta's actions. He and his sister, they make up with her revealing that she knows everything that happened in the Land of Sun, with Tabata showing us via a flashback that Yami not only took the blame for the massacre, but he asked Ryuya to take care of his sister, and Yami had always planned to come back, but as we all know, fate would intervene and he would wash up on the shores of the Clover Kingdom. It's then that Yami is given the Demon Soul pill, and Yami realizes why his sister had given him the pill. Yami will now be able to handle the Demon Soul pill and its effects without losing his mind, gaining the power of a berserker. Yet when someone is in full control over it, they'll be even more dangerous than the dreaded berserker because they'll have a clear mind when it comes to using that power. Never one to be outdone, Lucius introduces himself to Yami's sister and he prepares to go in for the kill, and for a moment you think that it might have been her who dodged the attack, but that's not the case here at all. Yami has now transformed. He's got horns and a black cloak made out of mana, and Tabata, he takes no time, showing us how far Yami's powered up here, because with just one slash he has cut through Lucius, and this is a really big deal given what this truly means, because we've seen how powerful these Lucius clones are. They are overpowered. Yuno went through hell trying to battle one of them on his own, and you see exactly where that got Yuno exhausted and forced to continue fighting. These Lucius clones are literally crap, and you see Yami dish out this high level of damage with one attack, and you know it's impressive because of the scale. And I think this is where some of the symbolism has to be brought up here. Yami didn't just conquer the mind to calm the rage of the berserker mode, but he was also able to find peace in his heart because it was now made whole again thanks to the arrival of his sister, and he has something worthy of fighting for now. Not that he didn't have it before, but when you have a second chance like Yami to do right by your sister, it's gonna hit harder in terms of your urgency. This, my friends, is also where things get very, very interesting, because while Yami has won control of the mental monster that is fed by his rage, Nacht is trying to battle a different monster, one that is fueled by self-doubt and fear. He knows that the devil Lucifugus that is inside of his brother Morgen, and he has to fight with the intention to win. He is well aware of it, that he can no longer simply stall for time, and he is gritting his teeth. But this is where we as readers have to remember that this is a battle that holds way more than just defeating his brother, because Nacht and Lucifugus, they have very dark history together. When you go back to the origin story of Nacht, one of the things we learn is that his father thought that he was going to be strong enough to bind Lucifugus, and when Morgen tries to stop him, he summons him anyway, and he proves that his father is wrong. This was not a devil that Nacht could control, and it leads to several of their family members who are spectators all dying, and ultimately we see Nacht holding his brother Morgen as he dies in his arms, telling him that he wished that they could have protected the Clover Kingdom together as magic knights. Right now, staring Nacht in the face is a reminder of his greatest sin, of his greatest failure, and his greatest burden, and you can tell that it is weighing very heavily on him right now, which it should. Beneath that cold exterior of his that we've seen throughout all of Black Clover, there have always been signs of survivor's guilt on display. And now he has to ironically confront them by facing both his brother and the devil responsible for everything that went wrong with his life. Nacht unleashes a valiant effort against both Lucius and Morgen, against two high-tier Wizard King caliber fighters, which makes what he's doing extremely impressive. Yet as the battle rages on, Morgen sees the survivor's guilt begin to peek through the surface and exploits it by pointing out that Nacht still blames himself for his death. And this is very important because even in a series like Black Clover, where you have magic and anti-magic, mental amps and mental nerfs, they are still a thing. Characters saying that they're going to surpass their limits and that they're getting all fired up. When someone like Asta and Yami, they are on the battlefield, it's really just a mental amp. But in situations like this, a mental nerf can occur where you find yourself unable to keep your head in the game and draw out your own true full power. Meanwhile, as this is going on, Lucius commends Yami for displaying such an overwhelming display of power. He reveals that Yami, however, is not strong enough to defeat Morgen, proclaiming that the power of Morgen and Lucifugus is too much for Yami to be overcome, that he is stronger than both of them. And right now, right on cue, we see Morgen defeat Nacht in spite of getting the anti-magic amp that he got from Asta. But that's where the mental nerf comes into play. He is shedding tears as he's looking up at his brother, revealing in his internal monologue that he can't bring himself to kill his brother again. The mental nerf is struck. He cannot forgive himself. This leads to Yami stepping in to protect his vice captain, attempting to talk some sense into him, saying that you're not really fighting your brother, you are fighting a dead man who is controlled by a devil who killed your family. Yet, as we see, it's not as easy as being told the truth. See, knowing the truth and accepting the truth, now that's one thing. But Nacht's problem right now is that he's unable to forgive himself what happened back then. He's fighting an invisible enemy that only he can slay. Yami knows all of that, which is why he tells him that letting Morgen's body get perverted in this way, used to slaughter innocent people for a wicked purpose like Lucius is planning, that's the last thing that Morgen would ever want, and that he's got to help him stop him in order to basically balance out the bad karma that's on his ledger. This is destiny giving Nacht one more chance to make things right, and Yami is telling him that he's going to help him do right by Morgen as well, because at the end of the day, Yami knows that whatever Morgen does, it's all because Lucius was the one who was forcing him to charge forward, which is why Yami goes directly at Morgen. He's crossing blades with him in a ferocious battle that starts spreading across the area. This is just as much as Yami's sin as much as it is Nacht's. But the true cross to carry, it all falls on Nacht because of that family history. While Yami and Morgen are zipping around the battlefield and they're getting locked into a heated battle, Nacht watches everything from afar, recalling how he would have these dreams that might as well have been nightmares given his circumstances, living life as a magic knight alongside his brother, working alongside Yami, only to wake up to confront the truth that this dream that he had, it was never going to happen because of his past actions. is Nacht attempting to make peace with himself so that he can assist Yami in battle, and despite the monster amp that Yami's gotten, it's not enough. Even when he uses his Dark Cloak Dimension Slash, Morgen is able to counter with a massive barrage of overwhelming force. It quickly turns the tables with a monster way, and the attack is moving at such high levels of light speed that it places Yami on a constant defense, and it's then that Yami realizes the truth. Lucius was not lying. Morgen is stronger than the both of them. It's not a matter of if he loses this fight, because at the rate that the battle is waging right now, he is going to lose, and Yami knows this. This leads to Yami's sister stepping in to give one final push to Nacht before she goes into the fight, saying that she heard from Asta how much of an impact that Yami had on the lives of people in the Clover Kingdom, and she reveals that she won't sit back and watch Yami shoulder this burden alone, not in a battle with an enemy that can kill him, which leads to her powering up and rushing forward as Morgen is getting ready to go in for the kill, and she manages to intercept in order to provide assistance, and it gives Yami the mental amp to continue fighting, because what was now an impossible burden to carry alone has now been lightened because his sister is standing beside him, and they prepare a combo attack with their combined power, hoping it'd be enough to knock the balance off of Morgen's light magic. And as they struggle with every fiber of their being, Nacht is finally conquering the beast deep inside of him, realizing that how he tried to handle things in the past before, it wasn't going to cut it. That tears of grief and sorrow, they don't wash away your sins, only your actions can. With a beautiful explosion of power, Nacht has regained his mental fortitude, and he has joined Yami and his sister in battle, rushing forward side by side to take on Morgen, who is now ecstatic to see the full potential of his brother knocked on full display. But what's truly amazing about this battle is that there are three people here who have conquered their own devils inside of them, battling a paladin who is made from someone with a pure heart like Morgen, who is being controlled by a devil. Light has broken through the darkness inside of Yami and his sister and inside of Nacht, and it's making the battles of dark and shadow versus light magic so ironic and poetic, because it's the newfound light in the souls of the dark and shadow magic users that are overwhelming the one who's using light magic that has been tainted by the impurity of Lucifugus darkness as a devil. That's what makes the payoff to Nacht being the one who drives his sword from behind into the heart of his brother so poetic, because he's not only made peace with his own demons, but he's managed to release his brother from the devil that was possessing him, allowing a pure soul to be cleansed of impurity and allow him to go back to where he belongs, at peace in the afterlife. My friends, I do not say this lightly, but this was amazing. Nothing short of amazing. The payoffs and the symbolism in the battle is something that brought forth chills on my body when I was reading everything, because everything hit, and it just serves as a massive, long, rewarding payoff to one of the biggest subplots in the manga. While we are nearing the end of Black Clover, it's nice to see the story hasn't lost a step, especially when dealing with the inner dynamics when it comes to the aspects of light and dark with characters. Which, speaking of light and dark with characters, click here to watch my Julius video essay that deals with the light and darkness of the Wizard King. And remember, Black Clover might not be back until January, but I got more Black Clover coming.